Yo, what's good people? It is Wes Nelson, and if you didn't know, I have just been on a show called The Games. Now, The Games is 9 different Olympic disciplines. So we've got 100 meters, 110 meter hurdles, hammer throw, 400 meters, 50 meter swimming, cycling, climbing, canoeing, mixed synchro diving, and that's 9. Anyway, there was a lot of events that we did, and it was super fun. It was actually a lot longer than it seemed on TV. It was only on for 5 days, but prior to that, we did around 12 weeks of training. The training was hard. It was 5 days a week, full days. It was quite a challenge, to be honest, because when I say I haven't done anything, I mean I have done absolutely nothing since 2018. So I didn't look like a prepubescent child on Love Island. That's literally the only reason. I've always been so involved in sport in my entire life, and it was a bit of a shame to sort of let that slip for the past 4 years. So when this opportunity came to do the show, I just jumped on it. I wanted to do it. I wanted to get involved in sport again and get moving. And it's been more beneficial than just my fitness, and I'll get into that in a bit. So here's the roundup. We're just gonna go episode by episode. I'll give you a bit of background on how we trained for it, how I thought I did in the events, and yeah, just the general shit. So the first event I'm gonna talk about is hammer throw. So going into the games, I thought the hammer throw was gonna be one of the easier events. It's a ball on a steel cord and a handle, and then you've got to swing it around and throw it as far as you can. And it sounds quite simple, but it's actually probably the most technically difficult events that we did. Yes, the ball's heavy, and yes, it's hard to swing around, but it's not how heavy the ball is, it's more so what the weight does to you. Spinning around in general is hard, and then add a 6 kg weight to that, and then add maximum effort, shit's gonna go wrong. In training, I think I got like 52 meters, but we then found out on the day we only had 2 throws to get our best score. Obviously after training, I was filled with confidence after doing hammer, and I was doing so well and throwing it so much further than everyone else. I was like, oh, I've got this in the bag. Like, this is the first event that we're doing. I'm sorted. I was so wrong. It smashed in the fucking net on the first throw, and then instantly after that, I was just like, I really have to get this out safe just so I get some points on the board. The real plan was I wanted to get a safe one out on the first one, probably about 25, 30 meters, and then just give it maximum beans on the second one. So the next one that we're gonna go into is the mixed synchro diving. Now, I remember seeing this when they showed us the events before I went on to the show, and I was like, I don't even know what this is. I don't even know how this is gonna work. Also, I've never dived in my life. So basically the concept is you get marked on 3 different things. You get marked on the splash, synchronization, and also the difficulty of the dive that you're doing. So my partner was Lucrezia. She was an amazing partner. But yeah, it was fucking hard. It was so hard, in fact. Like, jumping off springboards is way harder than you think it is. You have to time the bounce, and then also you have to time it to what Lucrezia is doing. Like, there's just a whole bunch of muddled up shit going on in my head, and you only get 1 shot on each diving board. You mess up, you mess up. First dive that we did was backwards inward dive. That one went really well, as you can see, and then it was onto the platform. Straight after, we had a forwards tuck dive, which means you have to jump forward, tuck up, straighten out, and get through the water as smoothly as possible. What I didn't know about this whole diving thing is how high it actually is, and I can't even stress to you how high even like the 5 and the 3 look when you're up there. It's like a 3-story building that you're jumping off, especially the 10. Funny story about the 10 actually. Billy Big Bollocks thought it was a great idea to jump pencil dive off the 10 meter on the first day. She told me to keep straight, point my toes, keep everything locked out, and don't put anything out and try and correct yourself while you're flying through the air. I ignored all of that, because when you're flying through the air and you feel like your head's gonna hit the water, you start wriggling. By the time of impact, my knees ended up by my head. Literally full cannonball, essentially. You hit the water so fucking hard, it hurts. In fact, Max actually perforated his eardrum. So the water pressure of him going into the water popped his eardrum completely. Anyway, there's something in your ear that controls your balance. So his balance was off for the whole competition post-diving. It just shows you the dangers of it. It was bad. I scraped up all my legs, scraped up all my hands, because the diving board's like sandpaper. I actually got the most injuries from diving. So the next event was the one that I actually dreaded the most. Not because I don't like running, but because it is disgustingly hard. 400 meters. Now, 400 meters doesn't sound too far, but when you get out on the track and you see how big the track actually is, it's nuts. And also, it's not a 400 meter jog. It is a sprint the whole way around. Let me get all science with you. It's not aerobic respiration, it's anaerobic respiration. You're burning glucose in your muscles, so you get a huge buildup of lactic acid. Your muscles feel like they're on fire, and shit just stops working and shutting down. It is the most disgusting race of all time. So, boom, the gun goes, and my tactic was to go quick out the blocks, get an early lead around the first bend, and then from there, cruise, and then dig in on the final 100 meters if I've got anything left. I actually didn't train pretty much at all for the 400 in training because first week in, I got a hamstring injury. That pretty much prevented me from training it in most of the running. So I couldn't really sprint at full tilt because I knew my hamstring would go and it wouldn't be ready in time for the actual event. At one point, I could feel Josh breathing down my neck, and that guy runs like a freaking triceratops. Like every time his feet go down, you can just hear the ground shaking. That was enough to make me to run a little bit faster around that last bend. Commentator did something sick. He actually name dropped "See Nobody" in there. He said, if Wes looks around, he won't see nobody. I was like, my man. Now we're going straight onto the 50-meter swim. Now, if you didn't know, in 2019, I was a channel swimmer. I did 4 hours myself in the channel swim from UK to France. It was super dope, very cold, and it put me in great stead for coming into swimming. Usually it's just one sprint across a 50-meter pool. Because it's TV and they want to add drama, they halved the pool size, made it 25, and then made sure there was a tumble turn at the end, come back. So yeah, going into this, we had quite hard training sessions. We did, I think, about 6 or 7 weeks on swimming. So there's obviously the dive at the start, and then you've got to do the dolphin thing. You know what I mean? You know exactly. I don't have to do it. You know what I'm talking about, the little wave. All my time spent in the raves helped out with that. On the Jamaican in me who said Jamaicans can't swim. My tumble turn was fucking shit. It was shit. I actually doggy paddled at one point. I panicked. I got so close to the end of the 25 meter. I already put my hands down ready to flip myself and spin round. And then I looked up and realized I was still about 6 foot away, 7 foot away. So I just started doggy paddling underwater so I could get closer to the wall and spin myself over. I could hear my coach, Ed, screaming on the side, "Wes, what are you doing?" I was there just doggy paddling underwater trying to get close to the wall. What a nightmare. But thankfully I got enough of a lead before that. I managed to get back, slap the wall, and won that. Canoe slalom. I fucking hate canoe slalom. I loved it. It was the best in training. Like. So imagine you're going to the Whitewater Rafting Centre in Lee Valley with all your mates. Everyone's having a giggle, everyone's having a laugh. It was just probably the funniest thing to train in. We were so bad at the start. Everyone was capsizing. It's so much harder than you think. The water does whatever it wants to you. You just sort of have to survive. And I think it's one of the most physically exhausting ones. It doesn't look too exhausting on TV. It just looks like you're this, but you're just constantly fighting against the rapids. My run went really bad, really bad. So I start really well and now I'm stuck. I'm paddling and going absolutely nowhere. What I needed to do on that is just let the current take me round and spit me back out of the middle again. But pride said no and I wanted to just power through it like an idiot. It was an all-round fucking shitstorm. I never want to canoe again. So the next event is hurdles, and hurdles was my favorite event going into this before we'd even started the training. In school, I did hurdles, 100 meters and long jump for sports day. They were my events. So going into this, hurdles was the one event that I was like, I have to win this. But obviously it's easier said than done. The hurdles are super high. So the hurdles are about waist high up to your hip bone. So here, obviously when you're running full tilt, that becomes very difficult to navigate over the hurdles, and you have to get 3 steps in between, so you're kicking over with the same leg. Your trail leg has to not hit the barriers. There's just a whole bunch of things to be thinking about whilst you're running a plastic fence. So you have to kick over with a relatively straight leg and then bring this leg round and over the side like a dog having a piss or something. So like kick and then piss. I actually found out, I looked at the decathlon for the Olympics just gone, and some of the athletes weren't getting below 16 seconds. I got 15.6, so I absolutely flew over it. To be fair, theirs are a little bit higher in the Olympics, but I was absolutely buzzing with this race. This is my highlight of the whole of the games. Cycling out of all the events was the one that instantly I knew I hated. I actually loved BMXing as a kid. No offense to all you velodrome cyclists out there, I just hate it. And the reason being, I couldn't get my head around the velodrome platforms. Around the far side bends, it's almost like this, and you're running on these tires that are like this thin, and the physics just wasn't physicsing. So all my fears were confirmed in this race. Kev wasn't the strongest cyclist going into this. He hadn't rode a bike in years and years and years, and he was really nervous, bless him. But he almost killed us all. He fucking almost killed us all. Kev decides to do the most random thing you've ever seen in your life. What the fuck, Kev? They're both off the track. He pushes Max off the track, and I thought he's gonna rejoin and hit me and Ryan. And then Carlson pulls the move of a century. He put the burners on. Watch this. Ryan looks at him. He almost double looks at him to see like, why is Carlson overtaking us all? Can't hear it on there, but I was like, cheese! I was actually gassed for him because I've never seen him give it so much beans. So speed climbing. So speed climbing is a set route wall. So all the positions and all the climbing parts on the wall are set and standardized. They never change, so you can rehearse your route. Beep, beep. beep. As soon as that third beep goes, you're off. In training, I actually got 12 seconds, which is the fastest I ever did it. And it was actually against the speed climbing coach. Yeah, he tried to overreach at the end and I just managed to get him at the end. On the final was probably the closest race out of the whole competition. Josh had done 14 in training, I'd done 12 in training, so we knew this was gonna be really, really tight. We're both neck and neck pretty much the whole way through until the very end. I just jumped just a fraction ahead of Josh and slapped the buzzer just before he can hit his. And I think his time was 14.9 and mine was 14.3. So yeah, half a second in it. So the final race of the entire process was the 100-meter final. And going into this, I knew I've got wheels. I was excited for the 100, especially after doing the climbing, filled with confidence. And I knew there was only one race that stood between me and getting the trophy at the end. But there was a problem, which was the big problem throughout this whole process, which was my hamstring. So my hamstring at this point was that torn up and wrecked. They actually essentially mummified my leg. They put tape all the way around it to keep the fibers together because they were so fragile and just ready to tear. I was bricking it. If I didn't win the 100, I wouldn't take the trophy home. Chelsea would have taken the trophy. Bang, gun goes, and I was trying to take shorter strides than I usually do, so my hamstring isn't at full stretch. Anyway, bang, 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 did it. I wanted to try and get sub 11.5 seconds. Basically, my cousins are both Olympians, Ashley and Alex, and my cousin dangled a little carrot before the 100 meters and said, if you can beat 11.5, then he'd give me a grand. Which is like, nice, I'll take that. But I kind of knew I wasn't gonna do it because my hamstring was wrecked. So yeah, I didn't win a grand, but I did win the show. I got the trophy. GG. I was buzzing to lift this. I finished on 45 points with 6 points clear at the top. So I actually managed to win it by a little bit, which I was happy about. On a more serious note, trophies and winning aside, the biggest win for me genuinely was how it's affected my mental health. Throughout the past 45 years since 2018 and doing the shows, I've not done any exercise. And this is a guy who did 5 days of training a week since I was 3 years old, at kickboxing and football. And I didn't realize how much of a void was left after I completely stopped that. Exercise releases dopamine and makes you feel better. It's not just about how fit you are. It's not how you look aesthetically. For me, it's genuinely how it makes me feel. And I'm not trying to sing to you guys and say, go out and exercise all the time and do 12 weeks of training like a madman. But what I will say is that if you sort of feel like you're a bit down and you want to pick yourself up a bit, try a new sport, learn a new sport. It doesn't have to be a sport that you've always done. Try something new because the learning process and the reward you get from it is amazing. But the biggest winner from the whole thing for me gotta be Colson Smith. I just wanted to give him an extra big shout out. So Colson got into running, I think it was in the first lockdown, and he lost an extreme amount of weight. He became ultra fit. And going into this, he didn't even know how to swim. He learned in 5 weeks, kept up with us boys, absolutely burnt me in the cycling. And for me, that wasn't a moment of like, oh damn, I've just been taken over. I was absolutely, from the bottom of my heart, buzzing to see Colson overtake me. He was an absolute unit throughout this whole process, and I just wanted to say how proud I am of Colson, and for me, deserves to have the trophy. K Kurd, the boy, big shout out K Kurd. Is there anything you can't do, my G? Yeah, I'm sure there's fucking loads of things I can't do. In fact, there is loads of things I can't do, but what would you guys like to see me do? And I'll see if I can do it. Give me something ridiculous, give me something wild and challenging and obscure, and I'll try and do it. Let's go.